Good afternoon and welcome to Lifelong Learners. Happy holidays. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening because we have a awesome show for you. We have none other than Diana Powell. She's the CEO of Justice Serve, Inc. You know also from Bring Back the Village, and you know from being all over Southeast Raleigh community. So with no further ado, I want to go ahead on and introduce Diana, and we're gonna get deep into the show this evening. So stay with us. Hold on to your seatbelts because you're gonna get ready to go on a ride. Diana, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Terrence, and how are you?
I'm good. I'm more than delighted and excited to have you here today. Uh, it's been a year,
It's been a year.
and today we're gonna go into the year in review.
Okay.
So I thought of you as that person that we actually need to review the year in the community. You more than anybody, and I think I probably interviewed probably 25 people since we started the show.
Wow.
I'm glad we've gotten to the end of the year, and we got you to end the year. Actually, I wanted to begin with you and end with you, but we didn't get you in the beginning, so we got you in the end,
Amen.
and which was a blessing. We're gonna take this year out with you in the chair, and hopefully going into the new year 2017, you're gonna share some things with us for what the community can do going into 2017, and what things that you may have planned for the community in 2017. But before going any further, just want anyone that want to call in today, you can call in at 919-518-9773. The lines will be open. The chat lines are open. We hope you call in and have questions for Diana, myself, or Amnon. We're here to take your questions. Amnon, by the way, how you doing?
Could be better.
Could be better.
I'm over everything.
That means
now.
you could
I'm
be
fine.
worse.
I'm fine. Yeah, it could be worse. I mean,
All right. So, and the
but
holidays.
it's fine. Everything is fine.
All right, everything is fine. Diana, is everything fine?
Everything is fine.
Everything.
Say it again.
Everything.
Oh, you're gonna have to teach me that dialogue.
Yeah.
Diana, but just getting into your, I'm gonna say your story a little bit. Can you just tell the viewing audience as well as the listening audience how you got involved in and started Justice Serve? What took you along that journey of starting Justice Serve and taking it in the direction in which you've taken it? What has it been 5 years?
It's been 5 years. We started with Justice Serve. It started from a personal situation with my family. My niece was involved in a high-profile case. I've been around the judicial system working with Department of Correction. I worked with the women's prison for 10 years. I left there as a correctional lieutenant and started working in a law firm. And working at law firm and being around the law and, just seeing people going in and out of the courthouse. With my niece involved in a very high-profile case, I saw how the court system was handling her. Even in that situation, her first thing was, I'm innocent. I did not do this. I did not commit this crime. And but she had to go through that process. And she wasn't willing to take a plea. And that was the only thing that her public defender was offering her was a plea deal. So it took almost 2 years to get to, she was saying she wanted to take it to trial. So when we got ready to go to trial, the public defender was still trying to get her to take a plea deal. And finally, I asked that question, do you believe in her? And the attorney said no. And that's when I knew then that that attorney was not on our team, that we had to look at other resources or other sources or other options that we had. But in the process of that, we were sitting in the courtroom. I was going to the courtroom, observing and seeing different cases going before the judges. And I saw some things that were just not right. I saw people were not knowledgeable or really understood what was happening with their case, with their family members. And I just began to just start talking to individuals, and with the little knowledge I had, I just began to share. And let's back up a little bit. Before that, I was traveling with. I was on the road. I was traveling a lot, and when I came home, that incident happened, and then that happened. I never went back on the road. I ended up staying. Didn't know what God had in plan. What was the plan for me? And I was laying on my couch one day, and I heard the words "just to serve." Had no idea where it was going. And so I ended up connecting with a young lady by the name of Abini Alameen with Project Ricochet. And we started talking. She had heard about me going into the courtroom, and she wanted to kind of connect and kind of help support that. And so when we was doing that, things just began to move. People just started connecting. And then I connected with the judge, Judge Vince Rozier, and we began to just work. And finally he said, you need to take your wings and fly, because you are doing the work that the community needs, and that is education, educating people on the judicial system. So that's kind of how Justice Serve got started, and it's been 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's been an awesome five years. I've watched you over the 5 years. I've joined with you in a few of those years, and
Yes.
and just kind of seeing how you've moved in the community, and how you have moved the community, as well as being moved by the community, I'd say. So, again, we're going to talk today about the year in review. And when I'm talking about the year, we're not going to talk about all the other states and all that's going on nationwide, but I want to kind of focus on what's been going on in the community that we live in. And because it's been a lot, and it's been some changes on a local level.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kind of talk about that. But before I get into the I guess the meat and potatoes of what's actually been going on in the community, just before we go, we're gonna go deep. But before we go deep into the community, just tell us a little bit about the I guess the past week. That was a birthday, CC's birthday.
CC's birthday.
And you all had a rites of passage.
Yes.
So kind of share a little bit about that, what that rites of passage was about, and how you all celebrated their birthday, and just to let people know who CC is.
Okay. CC was celebrating her 12th birthday. And there is a story behind CC, and we are just so thankful the way that God had placed her into our lives. So this past Friday, she wanted to do a sleepover, so we rented a room at the Marriott Hotel downtown, and she invited I think it was 9 of her friends, and so we have always been about parenting, our parenting skills. How do we parent, raise our children? What are the things that we're pouring into our children? What are the positive things? And that's kind of circling around that bring back the village, and it takes a village to raise a child. And so Miss Geraldine Alshami, she came, and some of the other mothers, they was there. And so Miss Geraldine decided to do the rites of passage for our young ladies, for CC. And that is that is something so sacred, and it's so important to understand when you're transitioning from one age to another, the things that to expect as you're growing into from a child into a teenage span of life.
Wow.
And so that's what that was. And now she's at another age, and so things are going to come at her a little different. And so we kind of, got into a conversation about that, what things to expect, what things not to expect, things to do and what not to do from a parenting aspect.
In Judaism, we have that. That's called a bat mitzvah.
Yes.
Which means
yes.
at 12, now, before 12, if you sin, it goes on your parents.
Yes.
At 12, after you go through that ritual, Now everything
It's
is
on you.
you are responsible, and it goes on you, and you have rights, and you have
And one of the things that brought that to my attention that struck me different about that was because back in the years past, and not recent years, but centuries past, there was always a rites of passage. All through history, there were rites of passage. When we talk about bring back the village, you talk about as the child grows up, the parents, the grandparents, the village raise that child, and when they get to a certain age, when boys got to a certain age, men took those boys through a rites of passage ceremony. Women took the girls on a rites of passage ceremony, and as they got older, they knew what that expectation was. There was a new expectation on their life. They went from boys to men and girls to women in that transition and in that rites of passage. They made it a ceremony. So that struck me as something that we as a nation need to get back to, because we're seeing now that the boys and girls don't have that rites of passage in the families, not in the community. It's not there anymore, and I think that's a missing link that separates the generations of the past and the generations now. When you don't have that rites of passage, kids don't understand that they're growing up and what that entails. That means now I gotta, when I was a child, I did what children do, but as a adult now I got to start doing adult things, and they start along that line. But the older men and women in the community and in the home, they kind of take them along that journey. So I think that's something that we need to get back to as a nation, to just kind of, I think that's missing, particularly in raising kids today.
just one more thing about this. That's today. They said that women mature faster than, females mature faster than males. The women, the girls are going through that at 12. The boys are at 13.
Yeah.
So, that's how it is
Right,
Yeah.
in Judaism. It's the boys need another year to grow up before they become men.
And I think that's still true today. I think
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah. Oh,
I think the girls are still about a year ahead of the boys in that maturation. I think that's still true today. I don't think that's changed.
So is that why they say women are smarter than men?
No,
I did not say that. You said that.
I think men have bumped their heads at one time or two minutes. That's why. But that is. But Diana too. Just in talking about that rites of passage
Yes.
and then just talking about bring back the village. We talked about how Justice Serve was started, but tell us too how you kind of started after starting Justice Serve. Then in recent years you've started the thing with the community, bring back the village, and that's on a Monday night community event that you've been hosting now for the past 2 years.
2 years.
So tell us a little bit about how that came to be and what unfolds. But in saying that, and talking about bring back the village, talk about you all had the meeting with the mothers. Was a couple of Mondays ago,
Yes.
and that was just talking to some of the mothers. I think the theme was the mothers are crying for their children.
Mother's cry.
So just kind of take us there a little bit.
Oh wow.
Take us
Well,
there.
with Justice Serve and not only just working in the courtroom, we ended up going into the jail, into the detention center, and we were running a 12-week curriculum. Which Terrence, you were one of the facilitators that came in, and we teach over there 2 days a week for 3 hours, so that's 6 hours a week, and we had up to 16 young men that was in that classroom. And so watching, teaching them life skills, critical thinking skills, how to navigate through the criminal justice system, and knowing that they were going to re-enter back into society. They were coming back in our community. So we had to figure out, okay, they're coming back into our community. What do we have to offer them once they got back into the community, and working with those young men in that jail and hearing their stories, hearing their life stories, how they were brought up, how the father was not in the home, how the father was incarcerated in a cell, how the mothers may have been out there on drugs, they were being raised by the grandparents, being kicked out of school, being introduced into the streets, being introduced to gangs, drugs, all of it, the whole nine. And so that's why we had to find a way to help them to transition, to wake up that light bulb, the goodness that's inside of them. Because we know they had so much experience of badness that we had to find that goodness in them. And so, and then dealing with different deaths, gang violence in the streets. And so we decided, Mr. James Bunch and I, we sat down one day and we said, we need to do this not only inside of the jail, but we need to do something on the outside for the community. And that's how Bring Back the Village. It was Bring Back the Village, empowering our community. Because if you bring them back, you got to empower them.
Right.
So it's more to it than just bringing them into a room and just constantly just talking to them. But you got to empower them. How do you empower them? With the resources that they need. Because everybody needs a hand up, not so much a hand out. And that's what was part of Bring Back the Village. And so, and then we started moving when we deal with different issues within our community, especially when when a young man, black male, dies tragically by the hand of another black male. And then what did that family have to go through? Don't have insurance. They have to call on they have to call on family. They have to call on the community. And so, so we as a community decided to come together. And I began the vision that I saw is that we got to bring back our village. One parent, one mother, one father cannot do this alone. It's going to take all of us. And not only just that, but we all have to be held accountable. We got to start reaching out and start reaching in to help ourselves. So that's one of the parts of Bring Back the Village. And so about 2 weeks ago, we had a tragic killing. I think about 4 young black males was killed in our community. And so, and I kept just like, what do we do? What do we do? And then I said, it has to be the mothers. The mothers have to cry, because if it's nothing like a mother's cry, because if a son hear his mother cry, something is going to move on the inside of him. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we had to put the call out. Mothers, won't you come cry? I haven't lost a son. I haven't lost a child. So my voice or my cry is not going to be the same as if that mother that has lost that child.
And let me just, I don't know if these mothers necessarily were in the room doing that meeting, but I do know that oftentimes I've seen them at some of the Bring Back the Village events, and I'm gonna just put a couple of names out there, and you just kind of just tell me what comes to mind. But particular, I'm gonna name Edith Winter and her son Gooch.
Mm-hmm.
What does that?
Wow, I'll never forget the day that I had heard about Gooch on New Bern Avenue. He was in a barbershop, and someone decided to go in and start shooting, and they shot Gooch and killed him. And I was thinking about, how can this mother, how does she deal with that? And I didn't know how to reach out to him, but I knew what I felt on the inside. And so I kind of followed it. And when they had the funeral service, I went. And I said, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we need to get a message to our community that this has to stop. We cannot. And not only that, to be there to let her know that we as a community, we as another mother is here to embrace you, hug you, and love on you. And so that's what I did. I went to the funeral, had never met Edith, didn't know anything about her, had heard about Gooch. And so when I went And we did. We delivered that message. And from that day on, and I told Edith, I never heard her speak. And I invited her to the Bring Back the Village, and which she was a part of that. She's a part of that village. And when she spoke one night to some of the other gang members, to some of the other youth, it moved the room. Her voice, her cry. It pierced. It was a piercing in that room. And then when I told Edith, your voice, your cry will bring so many others. It will touch the lives of others. And we did. We ended up having Judge Rozier got involved. We ended up having some of the mothers to come to the courtroom because there was differences. There was odds against each other. It was your child. It's your fault. You didn't raise your child right. And why did they do this? And so we had a meeting with those mothers. So it's just been a powerful movement. And I've always said, Terrence, you always hear me say, it can't be a moment. It has to be a movement.
That's right. Yeah. Let me ask you too, Rolanda Bird and her son that was shot at the beginning of the year, Akia Dinkins. What was, I know you all had conversations, and I know she was at Bring Back the Village. Can you share a little bit about how that moment in time?
That moment was, it shook our city. It shook Southeast Raleigh. You have heard about police shootings in other states around the world. And when it hit us, when it hit Southeast Raleigh, Bragg Street, when I got the call, I was riding, I think I was on my way to Hammond Road. And when I got the call, I just turned the car around and went straight to Bragg Street. When I got there, I saw this mother on the ground crying. I saw the yellow tape. And again, I saw the frustration of our community, the people that was there. Some were angry, some was confused, some was frustrated, and some was just hurt. And I just saw so much pain. And I knew that it could have went anyway. It could have went so wrong. We could have had another Philadelphia. We could have had them going and tearing up our community, tearing up downtown Raleigh. So I knew we had to get in front of it some kind of way. We had to speak to that pain. We had to speak to that confusion. And that's what we did. We decided that night, as the sun began to go down, as the night began to come, we didn't know what it was going to look like, but we had to pull everybody together as a community, and let's grieve together. Let's try to figure this thing out together. If we're going to react, let's react in the right way versus the wrong way, because it could have went so wrong. But I'm so thankful for the community, for Bragg Street, for Southeast Raleigh, for his mom, for the family, for the other organizers that came, to leadership in the community that came together, the churches, everyone that just decided we're going to do this the right way. If Raleigh, North Carolina can take the lead and show them how to do it the right way, we can get what we want, we can get what we need, but we have to do it the right way.
All right. And I remember, at the beginning of the year when that unfolded, but I want to take you back just a little further back into 2015 when James Austin was shot and he was gunned down, and I know that was, you got that call also in the wee hours of the night. Can you tell us a little bit about that, because James actually was coming to a lot of the Bring Back the Village meetings on Monday night, and can you just tell us a little bit about how that unfolded and transpired, what he was trying to do to bridge the animosity amongst, I guess, some of the different gang members, but actually bringing them together, and within that process there was his death.
Right. James was, wow. And just even still talking about him today. James was one of our students that was in the Just to Serve class at the Hammond Road Jail. That's how we first met. And James told, going through the program, going through the curriculum, he told me, he said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it'll work. Well, everything you're saying to me, I do not believe it. And I said, well, just give me an opportunity. And James was facing a lot of time. I think he was facing up to 28 years in prison for attempted murder. But he said, I'm innocent. I didn't do it. And so the justice served that we are, we reached out to his attorney and let them know that we are working with James. And this is, if you can go and see him and talk to him, he has something to say. And so they did. The attorneys began to believe in him, and they began to work with James. And James just still couldn't believe it when the attorney started working with him. It started that light bulb. That light started coming on. And then he had some personal family issues on the outside. And I knew that he could not focus on that and focus on his case too. So I said, James, let me help you. And then he came to me. He said, look, I need help with my family. I got 3 kids. I got a baby mama. They need help. They're living in a hotel. Can you help them? They need food. They need this. And so we tapped into our resources and we helped them. We helped them to get housing. We helped them to get food. We helped them, her to get a job. We began to circle around them. That made James a believer. He believed. And then he said he had a vision. He had a vision. He had a mission. And he always wanted to be a part of the community. And one thing, and he was a high-ranking blood. He was a gang member. He was high-ranking, and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live this life anymore. And if I was responsible for tearing up our community, I want to come back out, and I want to help clean up what I tore up. I want to be able to fix it. And then he said, I want to do what you do. I want to be a community organizer. I said, okay. And so to move forward, James, he began to focus on his case while we worked on his family. And to make a long story short, James' case was dismissed. It was dismissed. He was able to be released. He came back into the community, and he was loyal to his word. And that when we were still working with Bring Back the Village, James jumped in there and he became so active with Bring Back the Village. And by him being a gang member, he said, I want to do a gang truce. I want to call a stop to all of this. I know we can get along. I know we can work this thing out. I said, well, James, if you do it, I'm supporting you. I'll support you all the way. But to make a long story short, on July the 2nd, James was tragically killed at the age of 23 with 3 kids. I got the call 4 o'clock in the morning. And that day that he was killed, he was scheduled to have a gang truce at Chavis Community Park. And I remember a few hours that day he had called me. He said, are you going to be there? I said, yeah, James, I'm going to be there. He said, Miss Powell, I need you there. I said, I'm going to be there. And then the next call I got that he had been shot. And so my thing is, when my mind was, okay, he's shot, okay, he's at the hospital. And then they told me, they said, no, he's dead. And so that's when I got into my car and I said, I don't believe it. I got to be there. I got to see it. And so when I went there and I saw, that was an experience. It felt like my own son. It felt like I had lost a child because I saw the new birth in him. I saw James had never had a job. James had gotten a job. He had never had, he had gotten a job. He had gotten a car. He was going back to school. They had got a place to stay. He was pulling himself. He was moving in the right direction. He was doing it right. But someone decided that they wanted to take his life. And so we still carry on his legacy. His legacy was to make our community better, to unite. And his thing was, united we stand, divided we crumble. And that's where we are continuing to cry. We got to come together and we got to stand together, united.
That's awesome. And he, the few times that I met him, he was like making that change in his life, and he was making that change in the community. He was doing, like I said, what he said that he would do. And just for a minute, just let the audience know, anyone that want to call in can call in at 919-518-9773. We have none other than Diana Powell with us today. She's community organizer, community activist, and just powerful in the community day in and day out. And that's why today I wanted you here to just take us back through 2016 in the community. You've been there. You've been in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like I said, you've seen the mothers cry and the sons die, and and you had some strong words to say about these fatalities and whatnot in recent months, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we get into it a little bit more. But you also you were talking about I seen a video that you done where you were talking about there was a guy on the porch. He was on the porch and he was drunk, knocked out.
Yes.
And you had said you made the comment drinking all night long.
Mm-hmm.
And your comment was if if you can't drink, or if you're around kids and children, just kind of share a little bit about how you feel about drinking alcohol, and just that lifestyle, how it's what it does to the community.
Right, and that's just amazing how that all conspired, how it all came, because if going back to James said I was the product of my environment. Gang life, the street life, that's all he ever known. The hustle, the drugs, that's all he ever known. And I think about our children today, our generation. A lot of this stuff is learned behavior. Mm-hmm. These kids are tapping into these gangs. And it's not, I'm not saying it's all gangs. Some of it's just being in that environment. When you have mental health abuse, you have mental illness, you have drug abuse, you have the alcoholism, and you know all this stuff is around our children. And when that young man, when he was it was at my mom's house actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and he had always talked about, I want to do something. I want to speak to the kids. I want to speak to the kids. And then I just happened to, walk up and I saw him there, and I'm like, okay, you want to talk to the kids, but what do you have to say? What do you have to say to them? Drink liquor? Drink all night long till you fall out? You don't even know where you are? You can't even identify what day it is? What do you have positive to tell the children? Do you want to tell them this is the life? This is what you're supposed to do? No. And so that's why I got a call last night, and someone asked me, they said, Miss Powell, is it okay for you to smoke weed live on Facebook? Is it okay? Is it legal? I said, well, you answer that question. If you're out in the community and you know that something is not legal, why do it? And then do it on social media. And then you want to be a community leader. You want to be a mentor, but you are doing wrong. That's not being a leader.
Right.
That's not being a mentor. And that is constantly tearing down our community. And you wonder why the redevelopment, the regentrification is here. You wonder why the laws are, and I tell people, I said, they make laws on the way we behave. So if you're on your front porch and you smoking weed, they're gonna make a law that one day you're not even gonna be able to stand on your front porch, and that's gonna hurt everybody, because everybody don't smoke weed, but because of you can hurt everybody else. It's not right. We can't do that. And so, in order for you to be a mentor, you got to be positive. And a mother is not going to entrust their child into your hands to mentor, right. And you're blowing up a blunt on Facebook. It's not right.
No, you got a question?
No, I was just going to ask. I was just going to ask, how did that case end up? I mean, first of all, was it involving drugs when he got?
When James?
Yeah.
No, well, they're still going to court. The case, individuals that have been accused of doing this, they're still waiting to go to trial. So that's it's still ongoing. So, and some people don't like to see people change. You know, you have jealousy, you have your hate. James was moving in a positive way, and then there was a struggle. Change is not easy. Change can be a monster. You have to fight at it day after day after day. That's why we say it's not a moment. It has to be a movement. You have to be consistent. You have to stay the course, and you got to stay focused.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because that brings me to a question that you also you commented on, and I don't know if it was during a conversation where you had with Rodney Williams or after them, but you had said, who's gonna be next? Because the guys are still out here banging and slinging, and the cops are still out here shooting. Who's gonna put the guns down first? Who's gonna be next? But tell me a little bit about the insight where that came from. Or was that with the conversation that you and Rodney Williams had? Or?
That was the conversation I've been having, working with individuals in the other cities, and we've been talking about. And someone invited me to a meeting, a business meeting about how to get our people engaged in creating their own business, how to save money, how to invest, how to retire, you know, the 401k and all this stuff. And I was sitting in that meeting, I'm like, what about people that don't have anything to start with? They don't have a savings. They don't have a bank account. Where do they start? And then so I asked that question, and only thing I could walk away with is get life insurance. Life insurance. And just don't get enough to bury you, but get enough that the family can live off of, you know, could be sustainable. And I'm like, wow. And then so when I got home that night, I began to think about it more, and I said, if they're still shooting, they're still killing each other, they're not going to put the guns down, no matter how loud you scream, no matter how much you try to tell them, stop, and they still walk out the door with the gun on them, then they're not going to stop. So you got to look at the other options. The other options, let's get insurance. At least we can bury you. At least we can, and some people say that sounds hard, Miss Powell, but it's the truth.
Yeah, and
It's the truth.
And I want to get back to that a little bit later about the life insurance.
Yes.
But just you also were speaking about these just in the community. You know, these guys want to get that street cred, and when you've had conversation with them, they talking about power, money, and respect. Yes. And you were asking or saying, you know, how do you get that respect when you out here doing all this dirt?
Exactly.
So. And I think your thing was at the time, who's funding? You know, they got these guns out here. They got these guns illegally. They still shooting. They're not gonna stop. But you said that, you know, it's gonna take an act of God. It's gonna take some faith. But just that mindset. Do you think that mindset? I think you was talking about there was a shooting in Durham a couple of days ago. 2 guys got shot, and then somebody got shot in Raleigh. I guess during that same day. And you were just asking, when is it gonna stop? It's not gonna stop. So I think you said you're talking about too being out of you know, it'll take you out of your comfort zone, because what we have to do to move beyond that.
Right, and especially when you're talking about bringing back a village, and then bringing back that village, you're working from the inside out. So somebody's got to be held accountable. Somebody's got to tell the truth. Somebody's got to bring the reality to the table. And the reality is, if they're still shooting, they're still, I mean, we done, and I know you want to get into this later, the expungement. We've done the expungement. We offered jobs. We brought resources to the community. And you're still doing the same thing? Okay. Who, and that goes back to that mother's cry. Because I said, and somebody said, well, I was a good mother. I raised my child the best way I knew how. I did the best that I could. When does it become not your responsibility anymore? Okay. So then I had to look back. I said, it's always been your responsibility. When you birthed that child and that doctor handed that baby to you, when you walked out of the hospital, that was your responsibility. And if you saw your child engaging in situations or things that behavior they should not be engaged in, that's your responsibility. You have to put a stop to that. If I see you going out here, your pants sagging, it's my responsibility to tell you to pull your pants up. It's not the teacher's responsibility. It's not the community organizer's responsibility. It's not the politicians. It's not the judges. It's your responsibility to tell that child to pull your pants up. You are not walking out of my house like that. And if you're not telling them, then you should be held accountable.
I remember you saying that. I don't know if I seen it on the video or you were talking to. It was during the Bring Back the Village meeting, and some of the people in the meeting were saying that you was a little bit, I guess, radical in saying that if you got a 13, 14, or 15-year-old out here that's beefing, banging, and slinging, that when they go to court and standing before their judge, if the parent is there with them, if they lock that child up, they need to lock that parent up too, because the parent and the child need to have that conversation, and that'll be a good place for them to be right there in that cell together and have that conversation. But you were saying that some of the people in that were saying, Diana, that's a bit much. I don't feel like the parent need to be locked up because of what the child do. But you felt otherwise. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I still feel that way. I started to get a little soft on it, but I still feel that way, especially if that child is 12, 13, 14, 15 years old and they're living under your roof. They're staying under you're paying the bills, you're making sure they got clothes, you're making sure they got food to eat. That's your responsibility. And if they're out here and you know that they're smoking weed, you know that they have guns, access to guns, you know this, and you still don't say anything, and then you find yourself having to go to court with them, I believe that when you stand before that judge, you should get the same punishment as that child is going to get. And if it means sitting in a cell, you and that child sitting in a cell together, then maybe you all can have a real serious conversation about life. Either they want to live or they want to die. Either they want to be successful or they want to spend the rest of their life in prison. Because like I said, there is a system, and that system is set up for your child, for that child to be placed in. So it still falls back on the parent. Now you say, well, at 21 years old, they do what they want to do. True. That is true. But if your son at 21, 22, 23 years old take a gun and blow another person's head off, you're going to be the one sitting in the courtroom crying. You're going to be the one sitting in the courtroom begging for the judge to give leniency on your child. So it all just stays together.
Amnon, I got a question.
Yeah.
Come in.
I heard what you were saying about how Southeast Raleigh handled it, and yes, it was. I mean, everybody was waiting for a Charlotte or. Why do things happen like in Charlotte and in Philadelphia and all that? Is this really spontaneous, or do you think that somebody just wants to let these guys blow off steam and say, yeah, go break into Walmart or something? Why do they do it? How? What does it? Where does it come from?
Well, it goes a long way. It goes all the way back from oppression, depression, frustration. You got all those things, and it's like someone lights a match and just throws it on it, and it explodes. And then they do. They want to let it out. We got people. I'm sure we got a lot of people today that are walking around, and it's like if you can say the wrong word, you can say one wrong word to them, and they can explode. And it's like that. Southeast Raleigh have been hurt. We have been suffering for a long time. We have struggled. We're struggling every day, day in. especially someone that does have a criminal record. They cannot get jobs. They can't move forward. And it seems like every time they try to move forward, they get knocked back, especially when they go and fill out an application. And then they get hired. And then 6 weeks or 6 months later, they tell them, we got to let you go because of your criminal record. Do you know how devastating that is?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't.
Yeah.
But I can imagine.
That revert. And then that takes them back into that lifestyle that they're so used and comfortable with. Selling the drugs is quick money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I tell the guys, I get it. I understand it, but it's not right. So we got to find other options. We got to find other resources. But it's still up to them to tap into those resources because the resources are there. They are there, but it's up to them to tap into them.
So let me ask you a little bit about those resources, and but just in talking about the resources and the community, just what you're doing in the community, and I know too there's other organizations that's involved in the community, and ideally the organizations are working together.
Yes.
But then ideally too, you know, you got your haters. Amongst the organizations, and there was I want to say there was a statement made that there's jealousy, you know, in the organizations, and that's causing a division, you know, amongst the organization. Instead of trying to help, you're hindering the organization that's being effective.
Yes.
How did that come into play in this past year, in in the 2016 year, with some of the, you know, the movements and some of the organizations and some of the changes that we were trying to bring about? How did you see that division unfold?
I think it started with the expungement, what I experienced with the expungement, because it was so moving and it was so unbelievable that even you got a district attorney that has made a decision to do something to help our community out, and then with the expungement and with the response, some was like, this cannot be real, it's not true, it's fake, it's there to set people up to get arrested, is to get information, you know, people personal information, and then that's when people begin. I begin to feel a division. I begin to feel the jealousy of other organizations, which what should have happened is that everybody should have circled around it, and if they did not understand it, it should have came and sat down and let's have a conversation so we could all been on the same board. Some got upset because they were not at the table of this planning stage of the expungement, and that caused a division. You know, some feel like, well, you know, I've been trying to do this, and how all of a sudden, you know, I've been trying to get people to come, and all of a sudden they're coming to you and not to us. You know, it's just a lot. And but we had to stay the course. We had to stay focused, and we had to turn a deaf ear and just stay positive and pray for those.
I think you even said that you had got a phone call from someone. We was talking about the expungement, and one of the guys was talking about you need to do this, and and the strong man, and tell us a little bit about that conversation, how it came about, talking about the expungement, and how he just took it way south. But the feedback that you gave him.
Yeah, well, I had got the call. He left a message because I think we returned his call to let him know that we was having another a town hall meeting with the DA was going to come, and if there was any questions, and they had an opportunity to answer those questions. And so he called and left a message. He returned the call back. He left a message. And he was like, Diana, you know, ain't no DA coming down. Lauren Freeman ain't coming down, no community. Y'all ain't doing nothing but just, you know, all that negative stuff. Right. And then I was like, okay. And so when we went on through the expungement, and when people truly got their record expunged, they got their yellow card. They came on November the 12th. The judges was there. The DA was there. The whole judicial court system was at Chavis Park, Chavis Community Center. And so when the people were coming out and say, "Hey, I got my record," it's getting expunged. And so I returned his call and I asked him, I said, "Well, did you get your record expunged?" Oh, he got really upset. He said, "Well, if you okay, all right, you did that, but you really need to tell the truth. Tell them about the strong man. Tell them how to get a black card. Tell them how to make all this money." And then I was like, if you got all the answers, then you come tell them. The platform is open. You can come and educate our community if you got the answer, because we haven't closed the door to anybody. If you got a solution, the door is open at Bring Back the Village. You can come and talk. And he kept escalating. He kept escalating and escalating. And I just listened. And all I could say was, "You come. You're welcome to come and educate the community." Finally, he hung up.
He hung up.
Yeah.
W. Hunter
Wanda Hunter.
said organizations that are doing.
She on?
She says organizations that are doing nothing always hate on those that are doing something.
Absolutely.
Well, as they say, if you don't have no haters, you're not doing enough anyway. So if you got haters, that means you're doing you're doing something. If you don't, you ain't doing anything. But also too, Diana, just talking about 2016, but also talking about going forward in 2017. In the next couple of days, we're gonna be there. So, have you had a chance to have a conversation with the chief of police, the sheriff, some of the judges? Have you all had a chance, had a round table, or have talked about some of the, strategies, some of the plans for moving forward in 2017, or have those conversations, city council, the mayor, have any of those conversations took place?
Briefly, we haven't did a round table except with the judicial system. We just had a meeting back in December, and we're planning on having another one. So with that, building, continue to build on that judicial system, the expungement, and that relationship, that is going to continue on. Now, as far as the city council, the chief of police, the sheriff, we're in conversation with them as far as moving Justice Serve forward within the detention center. Because a while back I had made a request that those that do enter into the program, that there be a special pod for all those that are in the Justice Serve program. So we're going to go back and revisit that. So hopefully that will come. And but our thing is, we got to stay the boots on the ground. We got to work within the community. Sometimes the outsiders will bring more harm than good. So sometimes you got to move the public officials, all them. Sometimes you just got to move them out of the way and just let us settle it. Let us try to work it out amongst ourselves. And that is holding all of us accountable. When I hear the sirens going by my house, I get a chill, because I say, what have I failed? Where have I failed? Where is that? Where is that siren going? Is it going to pick up another body? Where have we failed at? When we get when I get a call of a mother saying, "I don't have an insurance to bury my child," where have we failed? Have I educated enough? Have I called out enough? So we're going to continue to call the parents, call the mothers, the fathers. I think Rodney is doing a good job with that in Durham, calling the men. And we're going to continue to put that call to our men in the community, our mothers, and especially our youth. We just somehow we got to get in their faces. We're going to work with the public school system. Miss Geraldine is working real strong on that, so we're advocating around that. So it's a lot. It's a lot coming forward.
Okay.
And plus, I'm getting married.
Oh,
okay.
Now, just to clear it for those who come and listen later on and watch it, this is not just for African Americans.
No.
This is for anybody.
Everybody. With the expungement, we ended up pre-registering I would say over 3,000. But our first count was 2,357 people that pre-registered. That was diverse. That was across the board. And so that's what we do. We work with across the board, everybody, because this thing affects all of us. All of us.
So now, would there be another expungement clinic in the next 90 days or going forward in 2017?
Yes.
In the, I guess, the first quarter of the year?
Yes, there will be another expungement clinic.
Okay.
We are already taking pre-registration applications. If anyone wants to pre-register for the expungement, it's every Monday night at our Bring Back the Village from 7:30 to 9 at 1200 South State Street. That's the State Street Community Church.
A couple other things I want to kind of see if we got a minute or two to touch on. You say you're not going to march anymore. No. Your title marching is not effective. What needs to happen? And you said you put a crowd. You said something about going on social media. Then doing all that walking. Where was that? Where was that? You just said there was a lot of beefing going on and just a lot of shooting and stuff still going on. But the marching is not gonna.
The marching is not in my agenda. Okay. Now if we can organize it and know what we're marching for and how we're going to do it, if it's very organized and structured, I will support. But I'm not marching. We got to educate first. I go back to Martin Luther King. I go back to Selma, and if we tap into that, it can be very effective. And that's why I believe that the expungement is so powerful, because the ones that did not get expunged, we're going to circle back around to those. Ones that did not get expunged, we're going to put a call out for them to come, because lobby day, we want to be able to lobby to get some of these laws changed.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So can you just let people know how to get in contact with you through social media? The Monday night Bring Back the Village, and just if they want to participate, if they want to donate, or if they want to offer their services, how can they get in contact with you or the organization to follow up?
Okay, our number is 919-594-9076. We got a website, justiceservenc.com. You always on Facebook. That's how we built Justice Serve again, on social media. It's under Diana Haywood Powell or Justice Serve NC. We have 3 pages because we got 5,000 people on each page. And we may have to end up creating another one. I don't know. So those are the ways. And I Bring Back the Village is every Monday night from 7:30 to 9 at 1200 South State Street. That's the State Street Community Church Life Center. We're there every Monday night. We won't be back until January the 9th. We'll be going full blast from January the 9th on up to next year.
Just one, well, I'm trying to get two more questions in, but one last time, again, I want to back up to your comment about getting life insurance again. You were saying that if these guys are not gonna stop banging and slanging and dealing and shooting, the parents need to go ahead and get their life insurance, because there's no need in them doing, they keep doing that behavior, and then the parent got to bury them and without that life insurance. And you also said, hey, get enough life insurance to have a life afterwards. So
Yes.
kind of speak to that again,
It's very important. We have to tap in it. We have to do this. Get life insurance.
Lincoln Heritage.
Lincoln Heritage, yes. And they have committed to come on Monday nights to sign you up, tell you all about it. It's very cheap, $29 a month. Can save you a lot, and it can put some money in your pocket. We just have to face reality with that. Get life insurance, community. Is so important. I'm going to do it for the rest of my family. That's my investment.
Because, like you said, if you're not gonna put the guns down, if the shooting is gonna continue, if we're gonna have to keep burying, people. I mean, everybody. If you're gonna have to keep burying people every week, there's another shooting, and the parents are, they're grieving and trying to find ways to, to bury the child. Like I said, it's, it's sad, but it's true. But you need life insurance. That's the alternative to. Otherwise, you're just gonna put yourself further in the hole if you don't.
Yep.
And I mean that in the figuratively, but also, I mean, these with the kids, if they're gonna keep living that lifestyle and doing that behavior, that's we're gonna end up in jail or either dead, and putting that weight on the parents to have to bury them. It's more than costly, and it's more than what a lot of them have the means to do. So, yeah, that insurance might be, and you say, yeah, to get that insurance and flip it,
And flip it.
invest it,
Yep.
because life goes on.
Yes.
And Diana, also we didn't touch on it, but just kind of mention a little bit about Torchlight. You still work with the Torchlight Academy.
Yes.
Those kids, I know you mentor a lot of those kids and kind of bring them under the Justice Serve umbrella of just learning, about the community, learning how to be safe, learning how to interact with the policemen and enforcement and just the authority, in general.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but you still have that relationship with Torchlight.
Yes, and actually they created a position for me as far as I'm their parenting community advocate. So if there's any issues that are going on, they know that I'm the one that they could call, and even especially if there's anything or circle around the judicial system. Not so much if their child is in the judicial system, but the educational piece of it. We do our tours on every summer. We do law day with the judges there, and they have been excellent in that support. Mr. Don McQueen and Dr. Cynthia McQueen are awesome people at Torchlight Academy, and we love them. We love them.
All right, Diana, I appreciate you for coming on today and wrapping up the year in review for us. It was. I knew you were the person that could do that and had a firsthand on the scene for a lot that have gone on in the community. You've been directly involved day in and day out, and I'm talking about 365 days a year. Even when you try to take a vacation, you got the call to come back. Before you even left, you were still on the road, and had to turn around. Yes. So, but I appreciate your dedication. I know the community. We appreciate your dedication to what you're doing to serve the community, what you're doing to bring about change in the community, and you've been consistent day in and day out. You said you'll be there Bring Back the Village on Monday nights, and you haven't missed a night there. You've also done just the expungement. You've been in the in 2015, coming into 2016, helping in the judicial system, being with the guys in court when they went to court, and we was also in the jails. And you continued to serve the community. We appreciate it. I thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to seeing and being a part of the work that you're doing and that you do in 2017. We don't want you to have to do it alone. We don't want you to carry that weight on your shoulders. So hopefully the organizations, they'll continue to work together, work better together, and we can see some of the changes that you want to see, and just the community at large want to see some of the turnaround.
Yes.
And I think, like you said, if you just stay consistent and persistent, you'll see the changes. But in actuality, you have made a lot of changes, and a lot of people have changed, and a lot of people have turned their lives around. I've seen they've came and talked to you, they've talked to me, and they've said that you made a difference in their life. Had you not, or had your program not been in place, they don't know where they would be. They don't even know if they would be alive now. So we know that the organization, Justice Serve and Bring Back the Village, have made an impact in the community. And so we want to give thanks to you for being that executive for those organizations, and and just staying the course. I know you put God first, and you move in that spirit, and you've continued to do that. So we just want to thank you, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
When have nobody else. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday in the new year. We're going to change the platform a little bit. We're going to be going more into, I want to deal with healing the hole in your soul going into 2017. So most of the conversation is going to be directed in that direction, because I think that woundedness that's in everybody's heart right now is really why people can't move forward, and they get stuck in jealousy, revenge, and you know, banging and so forth. But I think we get that hole in the soul have to be healed, and until that's healed, we're going to continue to see some of the things that we do out here in the communities and, you know, nationwide. So that's going to be my focus in 2017, getting to that soul place. You all have a good one. See you next week.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You're tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.